Hey yo, welcome back to another episode of the Arts Block Podcast. I'm your beautiful, lovely, chocolate, melanated host, Eric Curry III. And today we have a good friend of mine. We have the reason why I'm even passing the 10th grade right now. We have an actress, we have a runner of her own magazine.
Writer at all. I do
Come
it all.
on now. We have Miss Lauren Williams on the podcast. Give it
Thank
up.
you for having
Give
me.
it up. Oh, no problem. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Well, I know this is a huge day for you.
Yes.
This is a big day for you. I saw on Instagram and I was like, I need to have Lauren on today. It only feels right, right?
Mm.
Her release of her magazine.
Today we dropped the official website.
Right.
So I'm very proud of that. A lot of work, a
Mhm.
lot of long nights, a lot of
Yes.
small things, big things, a lot of work
Right.
really went into it.
Right. But before we even get to all that, before we even get into all that, I know you first as an actress. Lauren, the actress. Lauren at Summer Intensive, who first thought was just acting, right? What started that? What fueled that fire?
Well, for me, I really used like when people say acting was an escape, I really did use acting as an escape. I
Mm,
went to a school that I really didn't like. I really didn't like the school in middle school in sixth grade. I really didn't like it.
right.
And I was just looking for ways to leave the school.
Hmm.
And because it was my neighborhood school, so I really couldn't leave.
I could
So
keep. Shout out everybody listening from I could keep.
I couldn't. I was stuck there, and I mean, it was an okay school. My sister went there,
Mhm.
but I just didn't like the school, and so I found this program. It was a creative arts program at a different middle school, all the way across town, and so I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I don't know that much about acting, but I'm pretty sure I can throw my hat in the ring and
Right.
try things out. And so I auditioned for the program, and I got in, and that's really just what sparked it all, and
Mhm.
I really got into it. I realized I was pretty good at it. I was
Right.
getting a lot of opportunities, and it really just sparked from there.
Mhm. Did you ever think that like going to a performing arts middle school and high school was in the cards for you when you were going to that previous school?
I think so, but I definitely didn't see Duke Ellington
Mm.
in the cards, because I mean, like, a performing arts school is one thing, a school for like a performing arts program, and then Duke Ellington
Mm.
is a whole lot. It's a lot of demands. I mean, like, like, we're
Right.
in
Yeah.
the theater program, but I definitely didn't see it. I really didn't, because I got accepted into the program late, so I really didn't see myself going into the school until I actually got there, until like the first day of school. Like, I went to the
Right.
intensive and everything, but I really just couldn't see myself there until it was like the first day.
And I I'm curious on what people's answer is. So I've been asking people this. Do you regret making your decision on going to a performing arts high school?
I think about it a lot. I don't regret it. I mean, there are things that you miss out on, like with going to like a normal school. I mean, there's only so much you can do. We're in a pandemic,
Right.
but just the thought of not being able to like hang out with your friends as much as like you
Mhm.
usually do, or like doing like regular school activities because you have your art, it's so demanding. But definitely for me, I wouldn't say I regret it. I wouldn't say I really wouldn't do anything differently. I would put things in perspective, the things that like I've learned, but I don't really regret it.
Okay. And what do you mean put things in perspective that you've learned? Was
I
it
mean, there's like small things that you really get from just like being in art school. There are small things that I would like do differently. Just maybe like think about this or start doing this instead of this. Just like
right?
small things like that. But
Mhm.
for the most part, I would really just wouldn't change any of like the big things. I could always, now that I'm there, I could always see myself as like an Ellington kid.
Right. Lauren, we've been friends. Well, I would consider us friends. Would you consider us friends,
I
Lauren?
would consider us friends.
Great. We've been friends for a over a year, over about to be over 2 years.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, over 2 years now, and I feel like I feel like I haven't discussed with you your dreams and aspirations when it comes to when it comes to theater, right? And I'm kind of glad I haven't discussed that with you in ninth grade because like now that you're doing like a magazine and stuff, I bet you like those they it kind of like shifted a little
Mm,
bit, right?
it
So
did.
tell me now, like I'm curious, I don't know, like where do you want to go with this?
Honestly, I wish I could say I have a specific thing I want to go with it.
Got
For
you.
me, I think I realized that working on my magazine Rainy Days is
Mhm.
that I just want to be where the art takes me. Like I just want to go where it goes.
Mhm.
I didn't really like with Ellington. I didn't see myself doing the magazine until I made that Instagram account and told
Right.
everybody to go follow it.
Mhm.
I guess what I would say is my future is to just follow the art, you know?
Got you. I feel that. That's inspirational. That's inspiration. That's inspirational. But let's get into it. I remember where I was when I first seen the like oh follow rainy days, right? I was in Cancun. I was it was winter break and I was chilling, scrolling through Instagram, looking at my story, and I seen and I was like, oh, and everybody, my whole family was like, what? I was like, one of my friends just started a magazine, and all of them just looked like, oh, okay, like that's cool, I guess. But no, like genuinely, I was really excited. I just love when my friends and seeing like people around me just create stuff because that makes me want to create more things, right? So when I saw it, I was like, yo, this is an amazing idea. It was like one of those like, damn it, I should have thought of that.
Yeah.
I had one of those,
A lot of
right?
people have said that to me since it like came out. It's like, oh
Yes,
my gosh, I thought about doing that. I should have done that. Like a lot of people.
should have thought about doing that, right? Why a magazine? Why not like a blog or something? I don't know.
Well, I was thinking about actually doing a blog, just
Really?
writing about, like just writing about the art, and I feel like I kind of get that from Rainy Days, and
Mhm.
so really, I just like went online and just like seeing people who do similar things about like sharing their arts, and I got introduced to more specifically like zines. Have you ever heard of those?
Yes.
So I just like, and I started following a whole bunch of like zine accounts, and
Mhm.
I just became obsessed with the way that they were made, their
Right.
like the story that they tell with them.
Mhm.
And so I was like, oh my gosh. And so I was like, I really am immersed in this, and it's just a really creative way because
Mhm.
as well as a actor and all these other things, I'm also a writer. And so I
Right.
was like, this is a very good way to like spread my work. And
Mhm.
so I started with an idea and a concept, and I was working on it at like 12 in the morning. I was just sitting down on my laptop all night. I was creating things in like PowerPoints and Google Slides and pulling pictures from Pinterest and Google and all these different
Mhm.
places to make these like vision boards and stuff like that. And so then it just kept being a thought that for like weeks, it was just vision boards and pictures and boards, and I was like, I can't just keep this as an idea, I have to do this. And
Mhm.
so I made the Instagram account the day before New Year's Eve, I think,
Right.
and I just dropped it and I
Mhm.
just did it, and I was like, whatever problems I have up until that point, I'll face them when I get there, because that's the where I was at that moment,
Right.
just get to that point.
And it was so like when I seen it, it was just like wow, she's starting a magazine. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know you had it in you. I didn't know that
I
you
didn't know I had it in me either.
okay, so I'm okay. I didn't know you had like the magazine like making like that whole vision in you until like you did it and you was going with it. And then I remember the original name. It was the
It's Cloud Magazine. Yep.
Cloud magazine, right?
Mhm.
Why did you change it to Rainy Days?
Well, I get that question a lot. And
Mhm.
the simple answer is that if you look up Cloud Magazine on Instagram, you'll see like 18 other Cloud magazines.
Mhm.
And the zine making community, it's not very like backstabby. So, like, there could be so many,
Right.
but I really wanted it to be individual, and I really wanted something that was like true to me.
Mhm.
And so I always have just been in love with rain. I think that's why I was drawn to the cloud,
Right.
because our slogan is feet on the ground, head on the cloud, head in the
Mhm.
clouds. Something that's always important to me. And clouds product rain. rain can just be a symbol of so many things, just like rebirth, continuations, just so many things like that. And I
Right.
think that's what really that really made me want to go to Rainy Days,
Okay.
because art makes you in a daze where you just want to create as
Yeah.
well.
All right, and I think this will be a perfect time for a story time, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so if you're new to the Us Ball podcast, first of all, welcome. Second of all, story time is something new that we're doing here, where the artist on the podcast gets to tell a story, and I think that I want to hear a story about your most difficult time with Rainy Days, right? And while it's like new, right? It's being new, you can still have difficult times with it, right? I know with this. So tell me, what was your most difficult time with Rainy Days, and how did you get over that?
Well, one of the most difficult, there's been a lot of difficult times that I've realized since you saying you want a story time, but one of the most difficult times I think I've had so far was recently. I really wanted to build my social media presence, but the thing
Right.
is, I didn't have anything to post.
Right.
So, what my sister and I did was we sat down at our computers and we typed in like teen writers, teen poets, teen drawers, teen photographers
Right.
on their hashtags,
Mhm.
and we went to anyone who had lower than 100 follower, and we just asked them if we could like post their picture and just like post their picture and give them credit. And so we just did it to like at least I think 20 people, I think 10
Mhm.
people, or maybe like set 6 or 7
Right.
texted us back and was like, oh yeah, as long as you give me credit. But there was one girl who was like, oh well, you're not featuring anyone else's work. And I was like, oh well, we just started, so how do you expect us to have other people's work on there? And
Right.
then she was like, oh well, I don't feel comfortable with my art being on some like random page, it's so small, I don't see a why. And when she DM'd me that, it crushed me so much that I was like, how am I going, like I was heartbroken, I was so torn into pieces. But
Uh,
like looking back as an artist, I understand you wanting to like preserve your work and make sure it's shown off to the best people at all time. But being on the other side, I literally felt horrible, and I was like, how is anyone going to take me seriously? How is anyone going to take this magazine seriously if she doesn't even want me to show her work? Like I'm showing her work, I'm giving her the credit, and she doesn't even want that. So I honestly at that point I thought about like just deleting the account, and I was like, how am I going to get through that or anything? And then I literally was thinking about it, and I thought about like I could just delete it now, I'm pretty small, no one would notice it, it'll just be off forever. And then I went back at the DMs to see if anybody else had DM'd me, and it was this one poet who said I could use his work, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, I can't wait to feature it. And then
mhm.
he went on to DM me and was like, I'm so glad people are paying attention to my work and like my work, and I'm so glad you're going to put it on your page. And that just made me like forget anything that other girls said, because just being able to share other people's work that you love, and it can make like can touch other people, I
Right.
think that really is what drives me to keep working on it, keep working on this magazine, keep me going for the most part.
That's great. That's great. I don't think people realize how powerful art is until like it impacts them in some type of way, right? Art is really powerful. And
Yeah.
people say that without knowing the like actual power that art has. But no, art has some hold. But I'm sorry you went through that though. That almost made me cry. I felt that.
Yeah, I was about to cry when she did me that. I was so heartbroken, and it was just a lot of emotions. And then looking back on it, I'm really glad it happened, because I can like look back on it and be like, oh well, this happened to me, but like
Mhm.
I can come on this show right now and I can talk about it, and I can
Right.
talk about how I got out of that, how one person, and then it just proves that one person can make you feel like you hit the bottom, and then one
Mhm.
person can like light you up, like light you right back up.
Right.
So just you got to think about what you say to people and stuff like that,
Yeah.
especially like young people working on something like this. Like art is you said art is powerful, and one of the many things art is vulnerable. People
Yeah.
are putting their self into their work,
Yeah.
and just being wanting to share other people's work is a lot. and just letting your piece be shown to someone else is a lot, you know.
Right. And because like every time I release an arts block episode, I feel like I'm releasing a little more of me out to the world, right?
Mhm.
And while that can be a good thing, it's scary, like you said. That's a scary feeling, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't know how people would take this or take me as being a host, right? But
Mhm.
it's some risk that you just have to take.
Yeah,
And
especially if your name is on it. Like I'm a perfectionist, and so like if my name is on something, I want it to be something like I know this is the best it can be. I know it's as good as it can be. And so that also causes, if you know it's as good as your best might be someone's, like you might not like it. And
yeah,
the hard part about art is that you have to just take the eat the fish, spit out the bones. Like
yeah,
you can just take what you can and just leave what you can't.
right. What? So I seen, right, um you like posting on Instagram like, hey, I'm looking for writers, I'm looking for photographers, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, right? And would you say like that whole process like kind of delayed the magazine?
It definitely did. It took a lot more than I thought, because at first I was gonna just do it all by myself,
Right.
and I was just gonna find pictures, ask people to send me pictures, write stuff, just do most of it by myself. And then once I got more into it, I just was like, if this magazine was gonna get anywhere, it's not gonna be just me. It's not gonna be
Right.
just me and like one other person, or this one person that asked to do this one thing. It's gonna have to be a team of a lot of us.
Mhm.
And so I posted that on my Instagram account, and I just like sent it around. I went to other zines and magazines, and I just DM'd them and I asked them if they could just share it on their account. And
Right.
so I started getting back to people. People started getting back to me of working on other magazines that I've heard of, which
Mhm.
is really amazing for me being so like such a small account.
Right.
And so not only that, but I really wanted to see other people's like body of work,
Mhm.
because I I mean, like, I feel like I accepted everyone, but I wanted to make sure, for the most part, just them giving me their work just proves that they want to be, they want to work on it. And
Right.
so when they were sending me back their, I got poems and I got articles and I got pictures and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And I just wanted to look through it, and it was just amazing. I think one of my favorite parts about the magazine is how much art you get to see. Like you
Yeah.
get to see so many pictures, you get to see so many writings, you get to hear
Mhm.
so many experiences. Like right now on my website, I have an article from someone who got vaccinated and drove 3 hours
I
to
seen
a
that.
center, which I think is just so amazing.
Yes.
And it's just so amazing to just see a community of people come together to just make work. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's what really made me want to make it more team based.
Right. and and having a team is always better than just doing it by yourself,
Yeah.
because just because there's more people to bounce off of, more people to help you, right? And while yes, Lauren Williams is still like the creative genius behind Rainy Days, still like there you had help, right? And it's always great to say that no, I didn't just do this by myself, I had help, right? And this is an amazing transition, Eric. You're really getting good at this. Um, Speaking of having help, right? Duke Ellington, going through Duke Ellington, you're going to need a lot of help, right?
A lot.
From classmates, from ensemble members, and even with all that help, right, you still might feel a certain way about the school. So I'm going to need your honest opinions on Duke Ellington School of the Arts. Wow, that was an amazing Whoa, that was an amazing segue. Wow.
Well, I feel like that's a loaded question, but I can speak for just like the rigor of it.
Mhm.
Um, Wait, can you repeat the question? I think I just
What
lost my
is,
train of thought.
what is your what is your honest
I feel
opinions?
like I ruined your transition. Sorry.
What is your honest opinions on Duke Ellington School of the Arts? Y'all ain't getting that transition back. If y'all want it back, y'all can rewind it.
I feel like going into my junior year, like after this year, where it's gonna be junior season, it's
Yes.
crazy. But I feel like it's exactly what like the students say it is.
Mhm.
Like it is very rigorous, but it's very communicative. It definitely feels like a community.
Right.
And they don't play around when they say it's hard work.
Mhm.
There are definitely times where you go to sleep. Like there are times this year over Zoom that I went to sleep at like 9 o'clock and woke up the next day at like 6 in the morning to get
Right.
on a Zoom call and work on stuff for school. So it's very rigorous, and I can't tell you why, but it definitely feels worth it. I cannot elaborate why, but I guess the training and the relationships you build, that's just it just means the world every time. And it definitely takes the energy of others to just be able to get on the call the next day and just do
Mhm.
it all over again.
Right.
And so to me, Duke Ellington is just the people there is just the community,
Yeah.
especially like between our different departments, especially over Zoom. You don't really get to talk unless you're going out of your way. You don't really get to
Mhm.
talk to people from other departments. So it's really just like, it does feel like a family because you're kind of like, it's like these are the people you stuck with, but
Right.
you love them no matter what, even
Right.
when they get mad at you, even when
Mhm.
you're sick and tired of them. You
Right.
just love being in their company.
Right. Do you miss being in the building?
I do. I mean, of course there are things that are like, I'm glad I'm at home. Like I'm glad I can just go downstairs and get some food and go back
Yeah.
to my movement class.
Yeah.
But I do miss being in the building. I mean, I like I said before, some of these things I just can't explain, but like
Mhm.
that energy based learning
Yes.
is like it's real. Like being in a circle with a whole bunch of people who are your age who are going through the same experience, that's
Mhm.
something that I miss.
Right.
And just being able to just go to someone and ask them something, just like walk up to them. I miss that too. I mean, I just
Mhm.
miss a lot of like normal human interactions.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think being in the school definitely is one of those things.
And just basic human interactions that we don't get every day, like with our parents or your
Yeah.
sister. Your sister. Wait, okay, let me finish this thought. Then okay, woo, idea. Um, but yeah, just basic human interactions like with friends and things that we can talk about that the things that we'll understand that nobody else will understand, or like we'll be like, oh, say like inside just inside things, right? That
Like
we don't
insight
get no
and stuff.
more. Um, and also, but I do want to know how, 2020, that was a crazy year. And even though we're about to be, damn, we about to be in May. Jesus
That's
Christ.
that's a crazy thought. My brain is still in March from last year. Like it
Yo.
was a crazy. It's crazy. It's just. It feels like time just stopped.
Yeah,
Like
nah, really. Um, wow, ooh, my train of thought. But not, oh yeah, 2020 was a crazy year, right? Insane year. I don't know if you had anything planned in 2020. I don't know if you had anything like going on in 2020, but how did 2020 and has 2020 affected you throughout the pandemic and quarantine and stuff, and even now?
well, in the beginning, I feel like it really did affect me because I had a whole bunch of stuff planned for the summer. I was going to
Mhm.
do all these amazing summer programs
Right.
and just stuff like that. And it definitely felt like the world just stopped. It
Yeah.
felt like everything just held in place.
Mhm.
And for me, when we were in quarantine for a while, I really was in a really dark place
Mhm.
because I had so many family members had COVID and so many family members were in the house by themselves that they just weren't used to being home that long.
Mhm.
And so just thinking that like there was nothing you can do but just sit in place was hard. I mean, like you heard people say the best thing you can do is to stay home, but
Yeah.
it really didn't feel like it. It really didn't
Right.
feel like that was the most that you could do.
Mhm.
So I was really stuck in a really hard place in 2020, which was honestly, it was really helpful for me because I got to spend a lot of time with my family. Like you said, me and my sister are like always together now, which wasn't something that happened before. I'm talking a lot more to my parents, even my brother who is in his senior year of college. We're having more conversations than we usually do, which is I
Right.
think is just great. And just ending the year, it was important for me to end the year on a good note because I feel like I had lost so much already
Mhm.
between like people experiences, just even that everyday contact. I just felt like I
Mhm.
lost so much, and I feel like that's what really went into making Rainy Days. Like I didn't want to come out of this year feeling like I put a hold on my life for
Right.
something I couldn't control.
Right. do you feel like you wasted? Because I know I feel like this. I feel like I wasted a whole teenage year, right? Do you feel like that?
I do feel like I wasted it, but I try really hard not to think like that
Mhm.
because I mean, I'm not going to say who would have thought there would have been a pandemic when there's so many scientists who predicted it
Right.
could have happened. But in the mind of a teen, like a preteen going into their teenage years, like a
Mhm.
middle schooler going into their high school years, who would have thought that a pandemic would have put our lives on hold like it did?
Right.
Like, even thinking back to like the day before everything shut down, like at school, like Donald Trump said that we're going to go on like a national, it was like a national emergency. He was
Yeah.
shutting everything down. And I was like, is that something that somebody can do? And then
Mhm.
we ended up being home and we couldn't even leave our house. So it's like, I try not to think of it something that I lost. I try to think of it as just like something that happened and we just
Mhm.
had to keep going on with our life since.
Yeah. And creatively, right? I know Rainy Days like bloomed from the pandemic, right? But has did anything else kind of grow, or did you think about anything else creatively and like throw that in the trash or anything?
Well, not necessarily throw anything in the trash, because for me, my like artistic standpoint, I try not to
Mhm.
throw anything away. I try to put it in the back burner. But there
Right.
were a lot of things that I really wanted to do this year that did have to get stopped. I
Mhm.
was planning on starting a business with my sister. We
Mhm.
were going to start so many like different things that we were passionate about together, and
Right.
we just couldn't do it because of timing.
Mhm.
And that was just a lot on us too. But for me necessarily, 2020, there was just a lot that stopped,
Mhm.
lot that was on hold. But I definitely found interest in new things that I didn't think I would like be into.
Right.
Like, even, I mean, even love for other things. Like, I feel like after when we came back to Zoom for our fall classes, I feel like that was the most obsessed I had been with theater in a long time. Like,
Right.
I was obsessed with learning. I was obsessed with going to everything and working on
Mhm.
it, like everything that I could. And
Wow.
that just for me was like a breath of fresh air, because especially being at a school like Ellington, it's so, people don't realize that it's so easy to like lose motivation even
Oh,
in
for
the building.
sure. Yeah.
It's so easy to just get caught up and wake up, do school, do arts block, go home over and
Mhm.
over again. So just to be able to use such a tragic thing as like such a motivation for me, I think is just a blessing, you know?
Yeah, it is. That's amazing because you can get caught in that loop, but the fact that you didn't is great. Um, with 2021 soon, everything's about to start opening back up. Well, things are starting to open back up. Um, with us about to start going back to school at 100% capacity, still don't know how I feel about that yet. Um, oof, child. Um, Where do you think Rainy Days can and will go now that everything's open? I know that Rainy Days was like birthed through the pandemic, but
Yeah.
where do you think that it can go now that everything's open?
I think it can go many places. It can go anywhere, but for me, what I really wanted, where I really wanted to go is I really wanted to grow. I feel like
Mm,
when it's just grown so much just from a home front, and I feel like when we get out, we can do so many things. We
mhm,
can work on so many like group projects and stuff like that. And I feel like that was just there's just so much room for growth and growing into a bigger front.
mhm.
Just so many collaborations that can happen, and I feel like once we get out, that'll be so amazing. And there's so many amazing things that we can do home, but there's also so much more amazing things that we can do when we get out.
Message. Mhm. Right. And when is our Block podcast expecting a section in Rainy Days Zine?
Whenever you want, I'll talk to my team. I'll see when we can get you on there. We could do like a version of Arts Walk podcast just for the Rainy Days website. Like, there could be so much stuff we could do.
I have my people hit your people, and
Okay.
I have my people hit your people. By my people, I mean me hitting you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Lauren, for hopping on the podcast. It's been an honor. It's been a joy. I love this. But
Thank you for having me. I love this podcast. I'm so glad. I'm literally, I feel like the bomb that I got to be asked on here. I just feel
thank
great.
you. But before you go, I do need to get your dead or alive. Now, everybody that's watching this podcast, all the beautiful faces, hello. I am your host, Eric Curry III. If this is your first time watching the Arts Block podcast, hello. If this is your last time watching the Arts Block podcast, well, goodbye. But Dead or Alive is a segment where the artist on the podcast gets to say who they would like to work with that is dead or alive. Now they can choose one artist, they can choose 100 artists. Please don't choose 100 artists because I still have to edit this podcast. But yeah, go ahead, dead or alive. This
I
is
feel like the first person I would choose dead would be Zora Neale Hurston. I've
wow.
just become obsessed with her.
Didn't you just do your monologue on her?
I did. And then I'm also working on another piece for her. And so I just love her work. I just love her attitude with it, especially for the 20s. Like nobody was coming out like that,
Right.
making all this like she
Mhm.
does. I feel like is amazing. I would definitely want to work with her. Another person that I really would want to work with is maybe Chandra Rhyme.
Ooh.
Definitely her. I'm a big Grey's Anatomy fan, but on top of that, I love Bridgerton. I literally like just watched her interview with Oprah, and it literally just changed the way I think about everything. And so I just you don't that's not a feeling that you get from everyone.
Yeah, it's
So I definitely would want to work with her.
mhm.
And Beyonce, not just because she's Beyonce the queen, but because her body of work is just my mental, even just like her directing credentials
Yeah.
is just something that is legendary, you
Mhm.
know.
Right.
So I think that's my dead or alive.
That's your dead or alive.
Mhm.
All right, Lauren, thank you so much for coming on to the Arts Block podcast. We've enjoyed you. I've enjoyed you. But we have talked about a lot. We've talked about rainy days. We talked about theater. We talked about your difficulty with rainy days. We talked about your happy days that wasn't so rainy. Um, but if there's anything that you can say to anybody that's willing to start a magazine or anybody that's willing to start or create something, right? What would you say to them at this moment right now?
I would definitely say just do it. Like, you hear so many people say just do it, but the hardest, I just like read a quote. The hardest part about doing something is showing up. Like the hardest part about anything is just doing it. Like I didn't think I would be starting a magazine, like I said before,
Mhm,
until I made the Instagram account.
mhm,
All of the problems that you have, you can look it up on the way, you
mhm.
can ask for help, but just do it. Just go for it. Just make that first step.
Message. Right. Hey, look, you'll never fully know what you're doing. You're just gonna have to figure it out on the way, my brother and sisters. But thank y'all for watching the Arts Block podcast. I hope that we can help y'all on y'all way. And if we can't, I know my Instagram can. You can follow me at Eric Curry III. You can follow the podcast at the Arts Block Podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you can be notified every time we post a podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure you give me a 5-star and a review. If you're listening anywhere else, shout out to you. Remember that artists never die. Lauren, is there anything that you want to say before we get off the podcast?
Just to make sure to follow the Rainy Daze Zine on Instagram. Follow my Instagram, low.brianna. And just love you guys. Love this podcast. Thank you for having me. Just
Thank
make sure to keep creating, you guys. Art
yes,
is real. Art is everything. Art is now, you know?
yes. Ooh, that's inspirational. Dang, you trying to make me look weak on my own podcast. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all whenever, bro. Peace.